Hey friends, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, Warrior! Rainbow Warrior is a 6.7% IPA from Pileated Brewing Company in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Pileated is self-distributed and is available periodically around Ann Arbor where fine beers are sold. I've specifically seen this at A&L Wine Castle right behind Holmes, so if you're ever at Holmes and want to try one of Pileated's offerings, I think that A&L is probably the best place to check out. They have a great beer section. Now, Pileated's been open for a couple years, and they have some pretty restricted hours at the tap room, but I've been intrigued by them ever since I saw that they had a tap room in Ann Arbor. I've looked pretty hard for their beers in stores, and when I was out in the area a couple weeks back, I stopped in the aforementioned Wine Castle and saw they had a couple Pileated beers available. So instead of any more yapping, let's get this into a glass. Fun fact, woodpeckers have zygodactyl feet, which means they have 2 toes on the front and 2 on the back that help them grip trees and poles in a vertical position. So this is called Rainbow Warrior, and true to the name, this can has a really nice kind of fractal painting on the front with a cowboy, and it looks like he has, I would almost dare to say it's a hawk, but it looks like some kind of bird of prey, and he is on a horse. It has a feather on the side here, and it says IBU 80, 6.7% alcohol by volume, and it says Rainbow Warrior, a Midwest-style IPA that features an attractive integration of toasty malts and huge hops. This beer has a generous hop aroma, featuring tasting notes of citrus and melon, and you know, you got to give them credit for this. They list the hops that they use here. They say Magnum, Chinook, Uconot, Comet, and Azaka. And naturally canned conditioned, pileatedbrewing.com, Ann Arbor, Michigan. And it has, of course, the independent craft beer symbol. So let's go ahead and get our pint glass here. I'm going to go ahead and crack the can here. Is there a date? Oh, there is no date. It just says keep refrigerated. Well, I think I've been doing that. So we should be good to go. Let's go ahead and crack this open. Let's get a nose on it. It's got a bit of a dankness to it. It does have a bright hoppy scent. I don't usually have a nose for picking up melon in hops, at least in the aroma. But I am actually picking up melon a little bit, I have to admit. So let's go ahead and pour this, get it into the glass here. And it's pouring, wow, it's really looking thin, pouring out of the can. But as it collects, it's got a nice golden color to it. And it's got a decent head actually collecting on here as well. And it's going to bubble over. Oh, witchcraft. I kind of, on the end of it, I poured it really aggressively because I wasn't getting much of a head. But as you can see, there's quite a head on here. I've got about 2 fingers worth of head. Again, I really poured it aggressively at the end there. And it's got a really nice white head, a lot of really large bubbles around the side. It's like a cross section. You can see really large bubbles on the top here. There are some really nice compact ones as well. So let's put a better nose on it out of the glass here. And I am getting a bit of a kind of a skunky, hoppy aroma, like a dank kind of aroma. I am picking up on, like I said before, I don't usually pick up melon aroma, but I'm getting a little bit, just as I was out of the can, I'm getting a little bit of that out of the glass here too. But it's really kind of deep underneath that kind of skunky aroma. So let's go ahead and that dank kind of skunky scent. Oh, actually, let's take a look. It's actually pretty hazy. I'm seeing shadow through it, but it's not, I'm not seeing any kind of differentiation. I'm not able to see detail of the shadow, but I am seeing shadow through it. It's got a really nice carbonation coming up. It looks like it's almost more of an unfiltered IPA than I would say like New England's can be really super hazy. This one looks a little bit more like an unfiltered, but the head's hanging on there pretty strong and a lot of carbonation's coming up, so that's usually a pretty good sign. I'm ready to dive right in, so cheers. That's really good. It's got like a bright kind of citrus taste up front. It also has a lot of malty quality and characteristic, and it has a really piney, strong, hoppy taste on the tail. Yeah, as you draw it in, get a real citrus, sweet taste out of it, and then you almost get like this, it almost transforms or metamorphosizes in your mouth to be like a piney, resinous, kind of hoppy aftertaste. So it's like you hold it in your mouth and you get that nice sweetness to it, but even before you swallow, that sweetness kind of hangs in there and it churns around on your tongue, and then it turns into that hoppy bitterness, like that punchy bitterness. And I'm not getting a whole lot of malty taste. Let me get another drink, because maybe that's what I'm actually getting, right? As it turns into that hoppy bitterness, it might be a maltiness coming through. It's actually really odd. That sweetness is kind of churning in there, but there is like a malty kind of backbone to it, and then it transforms, like I said, into that really citrusy, really like lip-smacking, piney bitterness as well. Yeah, if I take a really quick swallow, really quick drink and swallow like I did just there, it's actually kind of easy to maybe overlook, not necessarily miss the maltiness, but it's easy to overlook it, to kind of look past it, because it kind of comes and goes, really quick, really like a snap of a finger quick. But when you take the first draw in, you get that sweet citrus, kind of really strong bursting orange juiciness, and then that kind of maltiness takes over, and then that goes and fades into that that piney, maybe a little bit of a citrus bitterness as well. Like I've mentioned several times, I've not always been the biggest IPA fan, but it's styles like this or beers like this that kind of make me think like, oh, well, maybe I haven't had every IPA. Obviously I haven't, but I kind of think sometimes like, oh, it's just the same thing over, and it's the next beer and it's an IPA. Oh, great, it's going to be bitter, it's going to have bitterness. But there's, they come along once in a while where you have an IPA that you try and it bucks the trend, and it makes you really appreciate that there are all these types of IPAs out there. There's all these hop varieties that brewers can use to elicit different flavors out of the beer. And this one makes me really appreciate that a lot, because I don't think I've ever had something that's quite so bright up front and then gets so bitter at the end. And I like bitter. I mean, I like, orange zestiness and lemon zestiness and all that type of flavor in beer. But I don't know if I can think of a beer that at least in this short amount of time, that you can take a drink and it turns into that bitterness so quickly, but the front end of it is so different than the bitterness. It's so nice and sweet, and like I said, it's not necessarily juicy, but it has characteristics of being like an orange juice sweetness right up front, and then like I said, in a clap of your hand, snap of your finger, it's like almost instantly turns into the piney kind of citrus bitterness, but you also get, like I said, you get that maltiness thrown in there as well. And if you've watched any of my IPA reviews, especially malty IPAs, I am a sucker for malty IPAs. I love them. That's the one soft spot I have in my heart that'll get me every time for an IPA. And this one has both the sweetness, the bitterness, and the malty quality. But I think the maltiness is easy to overlook, so you have to kind of let it sit and let it simmer, and I think that you'll be able to pick up, all the flavors of it. And I really hope that Pileated can get a wider and stronger distribution than just local to Ann Arbor, because I think that everybody out there needs to try this one once, especially if you're an IPA fan. It's definitely bucks the trend. It's a little bit different. But I think IPA fans, if they're into bitter beer, they'll still really enjoy it. All right, friends, that is Rainbow Warrior from Pileated Brewing Company. If you visit their tap room, let them know you saw their beer right here. Have you had anything from Pileated, either at their tap room or maybe a beer fest? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, why don't you like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm here talking Michigan beer twice a week, and the best part about it is it's absolutely free to viewers just like you. You can also find links to my social media, some merch, a custom Tiku glass, links to all the gear that I use in these videos, and a link to my blog at drafttherapy.com. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by, and remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries wherever they are, and don't forget to treat yourself to a little draft therapy. Thanks for watching. Cheers.